Hello there, and welcome to the next in the 10-minute coaching series. I was speaking with a client the other day who was feeling distressed because she felt that she was always making wrong decisions and getting things wrong. So I wanted to speak to that today. And I want to ask, first off, what is wrong? What is wrong? What does that mean? Well, it's brought me to this little oak tree here in my garden. And I don't know how well you can see on the video, but this side, she's growing pretty bare. She's not quite filled out on this side. She's actually really beautiful and full on the other side. And her leaves and things are growing really well. She's got acorns on her and everything. But this side, you can see there's a gap. And part of the reason that I bring you here, is to show you about perspective. It would be very easy to look at this oak tree, and indeed a Chelsea flower show person might look at this tree and say, she's not a very good specimen, she's wrong. But the reality is that right next door, slightly out of shot here, there is a big hazel. And that hazel had grown and really squashed this little tree as she was growing and was out competing her left, right and centre. The oak is slower growing. The oak has a slower rhythm than the hazel. And so she's a little bit bare on this side. Now, as I've cut the hazel copse back, then what's happened is I've exposed this bare side, and maybe she'll start to grow a little fuller. This is also the north side of the tree, which in the UK means it's the lee side. The sun is shining on the south, so she gets all the sun on the other side of her branches, and this side tends to be in the shadow. So what's wrong about this? This, for me, is a demonstration of perspective. If you simply take this tree in isolation, you would think there might be something wrong with her. But when you understand her story, you can see that it's completely obvious why she has grown the way she's grown and how this bare patch on her back has occurred. And the same is true for us and our mistakes. When we look at them close up, sometimes it's really hard to see anything beyond the mistake. But if you pick yourself up and draw yourself back, you will be able to see your mistake, the things you've got wrong, with a degree of perspective. And how many times do you look back on your life and realize that something that seemed a tragedy at the beginning, at that time when it occurred, actually with hindsight was a really good thing that happened. So, perspective, really important. And if you find yourself judging yourself or something as wrong, then what I would challenge you to do is to move from that judgment into questioning. It's the quickest way to switch something round. If you're judging yourself, it takes you into guilt and shame and blame. It's not a useful place to be. That just goes round and round in a cycle and spirals you down. But if you have a question, why did this oak tree grow like this? What's happening that made this occur? How did this happen? How has this shown up in my life at this time? What did I do to create that? What happened to make this happen? All of those things are useful questions to move you out of judgment and into an area of possibility. And stemming from that are the thoughts that we have about ourselves. Thoughts and feelings are what drive our daily actions, whether they're conscious or unconscious. So simply questioning the thing that's gone wrong, raising your perspective, asking the question, and looking at what went wrong through that perspective will have you perhaps questioning, well, what thoughts do I have about myself that fuel that action? Maybe you've got thoughts that I'm someone who always gets it wrong. And that drives the action of, well, I'm always going to get it wrong. You don't try, you don't give it your best, you get clumsy, you don't think things through. You'll have your own story, and perhaps you'd like to have a think about that. And the final thing I want to mention in this piece is the importance of compassion. We can all look at ourselves and look at our lives through the eyes of judgment and through the eyes of criticism and look at the things that aren't working. And when we start to look at what's not working, when we start to look at what's wrong, it's easy for us to get into judgment and then become despondent. But what I'm going to invite you to do as you review the questions I've asked you in this session is to look at yourself with compassion. I guarantee that if you had known better at the time you made the decision to take that led you to the action that you're considering as wrong, you would have made a different decision. But at that time, with the information you had, that was the best decision you could make. So I'm going to invite you to consider looking at your mistakes, your past mistakes, your current mistakes, the mistakes you're going to look at the end of the day and go, oh, I wish I'd done that differently. In the moment when you made the choice to take the action that led to the mistake, you did what you thought was the best you could at that time. So, compassion, a really important tool to have in your skill set as we move on and on through our lives. Have a nice day.